Well, hi everybody, this is Dear Mama Sal, and we are live on a Friday lunchtime, which means it's time for us to talk about coping with our feelings. And what I wanted to talk about today is, what is that piece of hair doing hanging right there? What I wanted to talk about today is the flexibility of our minds and why we need to be really aware of how flexible our minds are at the moment. And then also, what are we going to do to improve it? And as we go along, you will see how important it is that we keep our minds flexible. And, I'm going to give you some exercises to check how flexible you are. And then we will discuss it as well. But really, really important in the times of a pandemic and everything else that's going on. We got very stressful lives going at the moment. So our ability to be able to be mind flexible is going to be more and more important as we go along. For those of you who are new to the program, welcome. The DearMamaSal is a group of people who get together 3 times a week. And we do that in order to help each other grow together. This is not all about me. This is a group of people. And what we do is we talk about our real lives and what's happening to them. And then in doing that, help other people as much as we can. And I must say that it has been my pleasure to actually be part of doing this, because it is amazing to me how people have grown and how incredibly talented they are and how incredibly resourceful they've been. And it touches my soul. So really, today, it's all about coping with our feelings of resistance to change. I'm pretty certain that you will understand that life is forcing us to change at the moment. And one of the things that we look at is, can you get more and more flexible about change? It's called cognitive flexibility. In other words, how well does your mind go like this? And we're going to be talking on how best to help yourself do this. All right, so now then, when we go along here, I wanted to say that we are more than happy for anybody who is watching. If you just want to watch and do something else, that's absolutely fine. If you are somebody who wants to watch and not chat, absolutely fine. We love it when you come in to chat. Just be aware, if you do come in and chat, that anything that you say in the chat, I will presume it is okay for me to repeat. Now, occasionally I will double check it if I'm not 100% sure. Who are we? We at DearMamaSal are a group of people. We like to think of ourselves as an extended family. And we're people who care about one another and who grow together emotionally through the work that we do. I'm also hoping today to get a chance to do a little bit of unboxing. I got a parasol. It's so exciting. And to give you some updates on what's been going on for those of you who don't know, I went through a house fire back in September, and I'm getting closer to being able to go back. And so I want to update you a little bit as what is happening there, because that is really challenging my feelings as well. I saw a quote this week, and I just want to get this up in a different way so I can read it more easily. Just bear with me 1 second, if you will. The reason being that the way that it is at the moment is pretty small. And I just want to make sure I can see it. All right, how about this? This is what I found. It said, "You're not imagining it. Nobody seems to want to talk right now. Messages are brief and replies are late. Talk of catch-ups on Zoom are perpetually put on hold. Group chats are no longer pinging all night long. It's not you, it's everyone. We are spent. We have nothing left to say. We are tired of saying, I miss you, and I can't wait for this to be over. And so we mostly say nothing, put our heads down and get through each day. You're not imagining it. It is a state of being like no other we have known, because we are all going through it together, but so very far apart. Hang in there, my friend. When the mood strikes, send out all those messages and don't feel you have to apologize for being quiet. I wonder if that resonates with anybody the way that it did with me. Because to me, I thought, that is so true. I do feel that things have quietened down. People are talking less. And it's not necessarily a bad thing in some ways, but on other ways, it's like, wow, can you believe this? And I'd love your input if any of you are also feeling that has happened as well. Okay, I need to get my... Yeah, Jody's saying, by the way, for those of you who don't know, Jody is our admin, does a wonderful job of looking after us all. And she is saying that she really needed to hear that. Okay, I thought that, Jody. I thought a lot of people would probably relate to it. And I think it's important that we understand, we're not alone in being a little quieter than we have been. I saw also this week that the human capacity for burden is like bamboo, far more flexible than you would ever have believed at first. Isn't that true? And the question that I have is, if a year ago I had said, do you think you'd have the mental strength to be able to cope with a year of lockdown and isolation? I wonder what your answer would have been. Would it have been, no way? There's no way I could do that. Or would you have said, sure, bring it on? And let me know what you feel. Do you think that if you had been asked that reality, how many of you would say, boy, if you're going to lock me down for a year, I'd go insane. If I couldn't hug my friends for a year, I don't think I'd be able to manage that. And so you look at all those things that have happened to us. How many of you going, you probably would have said, boy, you locked me down like that for a year, I'd be in depression. I'd be taking the drugs by now. And so there is this part of me that wants you to understand that it is time to give yourself credit. And credit for coping with your mind. And credit for coping with change. And credit for still being married, if you are, that, you got into this new environment that required totally different skills, and you made it. And credit for doing what you needed to do to cope with it all. And then I'd like you, if you will, to think for a moment, how much of your mind's changed during the pandemic? Do you feel that your mind has changed at all? Do you feel that your mind is slowing down, or do you feel that it's speeding up in some way? In what way do you feel that your mind has shifted during the last year? And I'd like to relate through, if we can, to a couple of bits that came in the news this week. And, this is celebrity news, And it was a most dangerous time for a number of celebrities. Tiger Woods, Brooke Shields, and Ashley Judd all broke limbs this week. Isn't it amazing? They all broke their legs in different ways. And you think about it, Tiger Woods, who had just come out of yet another back surgery, probably the last thing he ever thought he was going to be doing was having major leg surgery. In fact, to have metal rods put in his legs just so that they would work again. And we pray to God that they will. Or Ashley Judd, who was busy doing humanitarian work in the Congo and tripped over a tree stump, a fallen log, tripped over that and ended up with a multiple fracture as well. In the middle of nowhere, literally in the middle of nowhere. Luckily, there was one person with her, I think, or two, that, one managed to stay with her while another got help. But, the thing was that she spent, I think, nearly 5 hours in absolutely excruciating pain while they dealt with that leg. And luckily, the one person that was with her, said to her, I'm going to need to straighten your leg and it's going to be so painful. But if I don't do it, you may end up with permanent damage. And, luckily that person had that sort of knowledge. And she said, to think, she's seen it in the movies, but she'd never had a reason to do it. The biting on a piece of wood. She said, it was, and then they had to do it twice to get it right. And then, they literally made a hammock, type thing and carried her out of the jungle. And you're going, wow, imagine that. And then the third one who had a break was Brooke Shields. And funny enough, Brooke Shields was busy exercising when she did hers. She was on one of those balance board things and just caught it at the wrong angle and it flipped up. And it broke her femur. Now, I want to tell you something. The femur is the biggest bone in your body, right? It's the one, if I'm correct on this one, it's from your hip to your knee. That's the biggest single bone in your body, is that one that's in there. And for obvious reasons. And, it's just like, and it snapped it. Can you imagine? She's got to actually learn how to walk again. So that, all right. So Jodi's saying here, in terms of my question about how things have changed, she said, I have mixed feelings about how I'd answer that. Part of me would say, bring it on, because many aspects of my life haven't changed that much. But living with fear of us getting COVID has changed me. Yes, and that's what I wanted to know. Jodi, in what way do you think you and Lionel, your mentality has changed living with that level of fear? And is the fear now beginning to dissipate, or is it just as bad as it was? Dissipate as in getting less, or, is it different? And you imagine Tiger Woods probably saying, we don't know for sure because, we haven't heard that, but possibly having to say goodbye to his career as a golfer. What are the chances that they may never be able to, get his legs back together again? I think he did damage to both. That he can golf again. Who knows? But you know something? It's Tiger Woods. We've counted him out before, and he came back and still won the Masters. So with Tiger Woods, I don't ever say never. It's just like, let's see what he does. And I heard a really interesting thing this week as well about celebrities. And they were saying that, in each of our lifetimes, we will have a celebrity, be it sports stars that will outshine the others. I'm thinking in my generation, it would have been Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali, without a doubt. All right. He was like the most amazing athlete in so many ways, but he had such charisma and such humor and such talent that everybody was in awe of him, whether you were a boxing fan or not. And then, you talk about Tiger Woods in this generation. And, as somebody said, the whole feeling about a golf tournament when Tiger is in it, it was completely different. Hi, Ezra, good to see you. And, it's completely different. And what the comment is that, isn't it interesting that these celebrity stars, I'm thinking Michael Jordan was another one, right? And you think about it, Kobe Bryant, and God rest his soul, but Kobe Bryant, another one. When you look at them, they weren't just talented. They were magnetic as well. You're right, there was more to them. I mean, we can say Sonny Liston was a great boxer, but he wasn't Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was just another being altogether. So you think about it and you go, they became legends in their own time. And you imagine, Muhammad Ali got Parkinson's disease, and now Tiger Woods possibly will have problems walking. Let's hope that's not true. And I just want you to understand that life can be that fleeting. I say that fleeting. I want to just give an example. Our dear friend Lauren in Tasmania just came back from the funeral of her grandmother, and her uncle died. I mean, it's like life seems to be so incredibly fleeting right now. It's not the way it used to be. And so I think it's really important that we acknowledge this and get our minds aware that change, it is coming. And it could be coming a lot more. So cognitive flexibility refers to our ability to disengage from one task and respond to another, or to think on multiple concepts at the same time. So can you imagine, Ashley Judd started off this week with one mentality, with the work that she was doing, the good work that she was doing. And then in a heartbeat, that was all shifted. Tiger Woods, left the country club that day, probably with his mind on the next tournament or whatever. And now his whole life has to be readjusted. And Brooke Shields, before she can exercise again, she's got to learn how to walk again. Jody's saying the anxiety when the pandemic started, from the panic buying, lack of availability of masks, household products, etc. I had a few panic attacks, but they were tempered with the be prepared, not scared. Yes, and I think that is very important, that you see that as your emotional intelligence about the pandemic grew, as your understanding, your knowledge, as we became more aware of, how, yes, it's dangerous, but not as dangerous as it might be if you are careful. And I think that is really important. Yes, Jody's saying the fear is lessened now. Supplies are available. We bought the freezer, but we're still very cautious about sanitizing things. Yes, and that's the whole thing. It's only as dangerous as you are irresponsible about being careful. And so I go back to the three celebrities. Their whole lives have been changed in a heartbeat. And quite honestly, two of them are lucky to be alive. And so I would say that our responsibility now is to understand that keeping our minds in the present requires constant readjusting. all right? Sometimes we've got to readjust our minds by the hour. But what I do know is that we are not out of the woods yet. And what we really need is to understand our ability to have flexible minds is so important for the coming year. And I know that each of you has the ability to do that. I know that you're smart people. And I also know that you are going to help me do it the same as I will help you do it. All right? This is about teamwork. And I saw a quote this week that I liked, and that said, I want to caution you against the idea that balanced is having a routine that looks the same week in, week out. I think part of keeping our minds healthy and adjusting is to change up the routine, get the same things done, but maybe do them in a different order every now and then, right? Keep changing, make your mind work. Yes, and Jodi's saying they will be constantly readjusting their goals during the rehabilitation process. Jodi, you know about that. You woke up one day and you were healthy, and the next thing you knew, you had cancer, and then you had, whatever the time frame was until they said you're cancer free, and then they said, "Oh, I'm sorry about that. Now you've got lymphedema. Your whole body is swelling up," and then it's like. You know about this constant readjusting of the brain. You know it well. And so I believe that our ability to be able to cope with what is, to live in the present, is going to be as important to us as getting the vaccination. So it refers to our ability to change the plans, all right, that we have maybe when appropriate. Understand that this is your life and it is your job to adjust it to fit whatever the reality is. I wanted to say that I'm a pretty good plan maker, and I think a couple of you are. You plan out your week and you plan what you're going to do and you work the plan. But I had my week all planned out to do some things on Tuesday, for example, and then realized it would be far less stressful for me to spend Tuesdays preparing for this broadcast and the one tonight, and get that out of the way so I knew that that was sorted, if you like. And then rather, I was due to go out to dinner on Wednesday night, and then I thought, I'm going to move the going out and doing tasks out until Thursday, after I've got everything else that needs to be organized done. And I did that I was pleased that I did. And then I got all dressed up, ready to go out on Wednesday. And just before I left to go for dinner, I opened up my phone to text and say, "Do you need me to pick up anything on the way?" And saw there was a message that said that the dinner had been canceled. And I was already all dressed up and ready to go. And that was my error. For some reason, I didn't check the messages in the morning. They were just like, well, here I am, all dressed up and nowhere to go. So you understand, I didn't get angry or upset. I just laughed at myself and went, yeah, that's a good reason to be checking your messages in the morning. So I don't know about you guys, but every now and then I need to give myself permission not to keep to my schedule. And I, in fact, would recommend it. I would recommend that you actually mess up your schedule a bit every week. Why? It's going to keep your mind healthy. For example, do you always have the same morning routine? How about an evening one? Do you have an evening one? And what I'm challenging you to do for your mental health at this time is change them up every now and then. All right? Change some things over. and see how different it feels, but also understand it's going to be good because it'll make your mind think more. Whether we like it or not, our families, our teachers, and our friends have all had impact on us, and by the way, have also given us their rules. When I was writing that, I thought about my mom, long gone. And my mom used to have this routine that she did whenever there was a new moon. You were never allowed to see a new moon through glass. In other words, you had to go outside to look at a new moon. Then there was something about you had to turn around 3 times and bow to the moon. And then there was this thing about turning over the money in your pocket for some reason. I don't know. But it was the longest time before I said, I don't think I want to go and do all that stuff, Mom. What? You have to do that. It's a new moon. I'm going, no, I don't have to. I don't have to. You can carry on if that's what you want to do, but I don't have to. And how many of you have the rule that you don't walk under a ladder? And when you think about it, there was a good practical reason why people told you not to walk under ladders, right? It's so you didn't get paint on you or water or whatever the person at the top of the ladder was up to. But have any of you ever broken that rule? Have any of you ever said to yourself, something? I don't care what my mum said. I'm going to walk under that ladder. But did you feel guilty? Did you feel just a little naughty for doing that? So my attitude is these folklore things, all had a good reason. And I have no idea what the good reason was about the folklore around, the new moon, but, I'm certain it made sense to somebody at some time. And I do understand that, going under ladders can be hazardous to your clothing. What about a black cat walking in front of you, right? And, all those sort of things. To me, it was when an ambulance goes by, you hold your collar. Well, all had good reason. Jody is saying, I have to admit that our evening routine is very routine. Yeah. And, but it saves you. Am I right, Jody? You got a list of things that you do and you do them all and then everything's done. But, maybe one day a week, we don't have to do it in that order, or let's not even do it. Yeah. And then Jody's saying, I walked under a ladder and then waited for the sky to fall. Yes, and I can remember doing that as well. But how old were you when you did it? And some of you have a set routine with your food. And and again, there is the adage, a change is as good as a rest. And, it was funny because I wondered where that expression had come from originally. And that was a proverb. It was actually a proverb originated during the Victorian era, published in a magazine called the Christian Gleaner and Domestic magazine as far back as 1825. It goes, change of work is as good as play. It may have originated, they say, in response to all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. And so you see, all these things are part of our mentality now. And the interesting thing is, change it up a bit. Make your mind not keep repeating the same things. Routine, whilst it saves a lot of us a lot of stress, can also dull us. Do you understand what I'm saying? If you get too routine, you're going to end up almost boring yourself. That there is nothing new, exciting, because it's all routine. So part of what I would recommend is that you be flexible in your mind this week. Work on being more flexible with your friends, because remember the thing at the beginning about, we're all suffering from this burnout of feelings almost. Your friends are feeling the same way. And even if they're not contacting you as much as they should, reach out to them and go, hey, I know you're probably just tired of it all, but I want to let you know I was thinking of you. How about your suppliers, people who deliver to you? I've got the greatest guy who delivers my groceries. And there are two things I say to him every week when he delivers my groceries. Zach, thank you for making my day, because he always is so cheerful. And by the way, I say, please continue to stay safe. Life wouldn't be the same without you. And that is just a small thing. And it's wonderful to hear his reaction, because every week he just laughs and says, thank you so much. And the same to you. This is as he's halfway down the passageway back to the elevator, and it's just like, but I mean it. He cheers up my day every Saturday when he does the delivery. And how many of you need to be more flexible with yourself? To be more forgiving of yourself this week, maybe. Because things are coming at us and our usual survival mechanisms are not there. If you think about it, poor Lauren dealing with 2 different deaths in a week within her family. This is like, wow, that is normally she would have family and friends around her to help her cope with that, right? Help her in that grieving process. But because of the pandemic, life has changed. And then here's something else that I saw, and I thought, boy, that's so true as well. And we need to remember that. For those of you who are in a relationship or married, you need to remember that marriage is a union of 2 I's forming a V, all right? That both of you have to not stand alone. You both need to bend a bit to create the V. Because, you cannot stand alone. I think it was Gilbrain in The Prophet said that, it's okay to lean and support one another. All right. But what he also said was that if one person doesn't lean, then this person could topple. All right. Because they'd have too far to go to lean more. And it's like, if we all give a little bit, it works. When one person has to give too much, it doesn't. And so please remember that these new conditions require new rules, not the same rules that worked for us before. And I really do ask you this week to give your family and friends just a little bit more slack and reach out more than usual. All right, so how many of you feel that that is something you can deal with this week, that you are able to be more flexible in your mind, yet you would like, how many of you would like a little exercise to see how flexible you are? And just by the way, I wanted to let you know, I don't think there are any birthdays within the Dear Mama Sal group this week. But if there are, please let me know, because the first one I think I'm aware of is Sharon, and that's on the 12th. And we do have International Women's Day coming up on March 8th. So I want you to keep being aware, is your ability to think quickly changing? Do you feel that your mind has slowed down in any way? How about, does it make sense to you that because our routines have totally changed, it is likely that we're going to struggle a bit when we go back to life as close as possible to how it used to be? You know, we're probably going to resent things like deadlines coming at us quickly. Okay, Jodie's saying, I have a very heavy week of medical appointments coming up next week. Only one day I have off is Thursday, so I will be practicing my flexibility. Yes, and the other thing in this one, Jodie, is to be prepared, right? And so from your knowledge of yourself, what sort of things get you upset when you do those appointments? And I say that because if you can minimize your stress around those things. I know, for example, Judy, when I went out yesterday, no, that one, I think I got a picture of it somewhere. Hopefully not too far away. But I decided I was going to have it framed. And the reason I wanted to frame it was because I just can't say it quickly. It was to me, it's a memory of my time here that I painted that picture then. So I wanted it to be a picture that I put into the new house. And so after the framing, I then needed to go and pick up the parcel. That was the next thing on that route. And then I needed to go to pick up the mail at my house. And then I wanted to check how the progress was going at my house. So and I had to deposit a check, an international check. And I knew, Jodie, that the thing that would cause me the most stress was the lineup, having to stand outside in the cold, waiting to get into the bank. And so what I did is, before I even left home, I said, all right, where do you want to put the lineup? You know, in this scheme of things, is it going to be one of the first things you do, or is it going to be a later thing? And I decided I wanted it fairly close to the beginning while I still had patience, right? Because, you know, it is what it is, and I was going to need to do that. All right, so Jodie is saying for her, the weather conditions are always a factor for her. Being in a pain flare that extends for days will affect my mood, my lack of rest, and not looking after my nutrition properly will also have an effect on me. So I will be extra mindful. Yes, I think that the mantra, Jodie, is, how about you say something to yourself, it is my goal this week to not punish people for my pain, or for my lack of sleep, or in just generally, I'm not going to punish people. And good point, Jodie. I'm glad you brought that up. She's saying that I will also be careful not to put too many extra demands on myself next week. Absolutely. Now, Jodie, saying, as we're talking about you, let me unbox something. These are presents that Jodie sent me, and as you can tell by the wrapping, they are Christmas presents that she was holding on to. And because what she does is every now and then, she has the ability to help me with my CPAC mask, right? And by the way, Jodie, thank you so much for the mask and the what do you call it, the hoses and everything. It was amazing. I just want to drop that on the floor. That's not a good idea. Oh, what have I got here? Oh, that's so thoughtful. Jody knows that, I love my coffee. You all know that. But I really have got very, very sold on these things. They are English toffee drops. And that is wonderful, Jode. Thank you. Oh, it's going to be so good. Oh, that's good. I'm going to open another one now. I think I'm in the mood now. Oh, I don't know what they are, but I love the containers. If you knew I would. I have no idea. Great containers. All right. Maybe that's what they are, just the containers. They are awesome. They are awesome, good. You knew I'd love them, right? So useful. Yeah, take all that later. So useful. Okay. Now, the other thing, I've got more there, but I think I might unpack those in this evening's broadcast. The other thing that Jody sent me is she makes masks for people. Look at how professional they are. Right? She's got them in a really nice little baggie and with instructions on them. And I can open this baggie when I can see how to, oh yes, that's there. Okay, and then they're beautifully made. Okay, so that's how they are. Okay. And then Jody, you put a coffee filter in the slotty here? Very nice. I can have color coordinated masks now. So I've got this one, which will go with any time I'm wearing blue and green or yellow. My spring. Let's see what other options, because Jody, I thought she didn't just send one. Okay, Jody, what are these? Oh, it has something to do with having a cold, I think. Okay, she'll tell me. And then she also sent me a coffee one, of course. Oh, and another coffee one. Oh, and a baking one. Aren't they beautiful? These materials are really lovely. Love them. And being Jody, she also sent, look at this. This is what I call insanely clever. In case I snap the elastic, spare elastics and the needle to thread it with. I mean, the little kid in me is very happy, which she knew I would be, of course. That is awesome. However, I started this by saying Jody decided to challenge her mind. You guys all know that I've been working on getting my stamina up by using the Wii machine since Christmas. And Jodie's arrived this week and she got everything sorted. Now, Jodie, is it fair to say that there is a fair learning curve on starting something like the Wii? Would that be fair? And that your mind had to really think and probably got a bit frustrated and went through all those sort of things. Would that be fair? And the reason that I want to congratulate you is learning something new challenges the mind. So in order to challenge your body, you had to first challenge your mind. And what I want you to be aware of is how good that is for you. And yeah, Jodie's saying, it was a range of emotion. Do you want to talk to it in any way? So, because one of the things I recommend that everybody does this year, if they haven't, learn something new. All right. As you know, my goal this year was to definitely start shifting the weight. That I really wanted to find a way to stop being obese. Now, I've been pretty diligent, to put it mildly, about doing this, and I've literally I think almost every day except a couple, I have taken half an hour to an hour a day to work on conditioning my body. I've been doing it for 108 days, I think. And the most amazing thing is that my weight still hasn't shifted. And I'm going to talk, Jodie, can you remind me after the broadcast to make sure I talk about that in this evening's broadcast? Because I want to talk about the practicalities of it in this evening's broadcast. But first of all, can you all imagine, would you continue to dedicate the time if the effect was not there? In other words, if you were putting in, I'm now putting in an hour a day, would you mentally continue to do it if your weight wasn't dropping? And that is what I want you to think about, is this is why we need to adjust our thinking and challenge ourselves. You see, what I realized was I don't quite know why my weight isn't dropping, but I do know I need to do what I'm doing. There is no doubt in my mind, whether my weight drops or not, I need to do what I'm doing. I need to take an hour a day and use my muscles. Just hold on a second. Let's see what Jodie says here. She's talking about the emotions. She said, happiness to get the Wii, frustration in setting it up, and then I wasn't able to do everything I wanted to do immediately. Yes, I remember that one as well. I couldn't get past the practice session of the balance test at first. Yeah. And I think that is a wonderful example, Jodie, of how we need to stay focused on what it is we want the end result to be. In other words, if you hadn't really wanted to use the Wii, you probably would have said, it's too much, I can't be bothered. But you kept doing, bit by bit, day by day, doing all the bits, you needed to get, you thought you had everything, but no, they hadn't given you everything you needed. So then you had to save up and, buy a couple of things. It's all part of the process. But the good news is you are now able to do it. The question is, what is your goal? All right, so Jodie's saying, when it was all set up and I knew I could use my arms to run, I nearly cried from happiness. And Jody's saying she did 2,200 steps yesterday. All right, so the point that I'm making for those of you who might be new to the broadcast, I found out through experiments and proved it on my fitness watch that just literally pretending to run, okay, ups your heart rate. We also found out that doing this, pretending to run, lifts your heart rate up as well. It's aerobic. And so because Jody cannot use her legs well, I said to her, don't use that as an excuse. Do what you can do the arm rolls. And Jody's walking requires that she does arm rolls. Or maybe, Jody, think about actually starting to twist the core. Do you understand what I'm saying? Twist the core. Because, by the way, the muscles are not going to like it, let me tell you. And so part of the thing is to get away from the fact that walking or running requires that you use your feet. I think now that we have proven enough times that if you can do this and it becomes aerobic, in other words, it's lifting your heart rate, then that is what what we're meant to do, is lift the heart rate. We're not running. It's about use the muscles that do this, and you'll be amazed how many muscles. Now, obviously, Jody's also doing leg exercises to keep the leg muscles going, because one of the things I think you all know that as you age or as your health deteriorates, the first muscles to go are those in your legs. So it's really important, even if you can't walk properly, really important to do leg exercises, because as you know, if you don't use those muscles, you're going to lose them. And so it's really important. So the core work is really important. And here's an exercise that I suggested that Jody do, and I recommend those of you who are watching this, recommend you try it as well. Is it wherever you are, you want to try this. Just where you're sitting, take a moment and do this slowly, because it can end up being a challenge for some people. And look at each of the four corners in your room. Okay, I'm going to do it. So do it slowly. Just slowly move your head. And there I am looking at the top corner to my left. And now I'm going to slowly go to the next corner. And then long room. To the next corner. And then to the next corner. And then I'm going to look as far as I can this way. And slowly, as far as I can this way. And for those of you who might be doing it with me, can you feed me back what you noticed when you do that? All right? What did you notice when you turned like this? And it's really such a simple thing to do. But, boy, does it use a lot of muscles. Jody's saying that her goal is to do alternate sitting and standing as I go through the different routes, increasing the time. Yes, and you've seen it work for me, Jody, which is if you are able to stand for 1 minute, all right, that's what you can do. That's reality. And so your goal is, can I stand for 1 minute and 15 seconds? And if the answer is, well, yeah, actually I can, then give yourself a big pat on the back, and then, then go, okay, now can I stand for 1 minute and 30 seconds? And just literally give yourself these little goals. Jody's saying that doing this exercise, right, slowly, all the muscles in her neck were popping. Did you feel any muscles in your core resisting that? And what I want you to feel is the resistance, because what I discovered was, boy, my spine does not want to turn very well. And, I can really feel all those muscles screaming. And this is after I've done all the work that I've been doing. So the point that I want to make here is it's a great new routine. Doesn't require that you get off your butt, does not require that you put on special clothes, but boy, does it stretch a lot of muscles. Just look at the fork, maybe while you're watching television, when the ads are on, or if you're watching streaming, just take a break every now and then, and before you get up to go get coffee or whatever you do, just say, have I looked at all four corners? And I would recommend doing that for at least 4 times a day, and then reverse it. Do it the opposite way. And, all those muscles will be forced to work. It's a new routine. All right, here we go. What is this? Now, for those of you who know me well, obviously it's a paintbrush. But is it? What I want you to do is to let go of the rule that says this is a paintbrush. And what I'd like you to do is to give me as many alternative uses for this instrument. Oh, instrument. Yeah, it could be a drum stick. Okay. Anyway, give me other uses for this beautiful brush. And as I sit here, I'm going, it could be a keyboard cleaner. Oh yes, Jodie's saying a pastry brush or a basting brush. Yes, good idea. Anything else, anybody? I have, what about a window track cleaner? By the way, it's very useful because it's got a long handle. You won't have to lean down. A duster. Yes, exactly. Good idea for a duster. How about a lampshade duster? Look at that. I'm glad I did that. Got to get the dust off the brush now. How about dusting your blinds? You could dust your blinds with it. Oh, if you kept it near your washing machine, it would be useful to get the lint out of the lint trap. Anything else? Let me think. A curtain weight. Oh, this one hasn't got a hole in it, but yes, definitely could do that. And I'm thinking now in the car. Oh, cleaning the air vent in a car. They always get dusty. Or around, if you've got an automatic, around where the gear shift is. Well, apparently it's quite a good duster, Jodie. I'm just looking at it right now. So the point that I want to make is, do you understand that, good one, is it? Is it saying, to put hair coloring on? Yeah, make a good brush for that. And also, it's, you could use it as a makeup brush if you were really stuck. Yes, Jodie's saying, how about cleaning the sewing machine faceplate? Or getting residue out of where the bobbin goes. Nice one, Jodie. Yeah, keep going, guys. See what else you can think of. Okay, anything else in the car? Oh, you could use it for cleaning your rims on the car. So what this requires, though, can you understand that? It requires that you stretch your brain a little bit. Because you have to let go of this as a paint brush and say, what else could I use it for? And the more you stretch your thinking, right, the better. So I want you to be really aware this week of, yes, this is a coffee cup. But what else could it be? Well, it's definitely a water transporter if I want to water my flowers. It definitely could be a plant holder. I could plant seeds in here. And literally spend the week thinking of alternate uses for things. Let go of the rule that says just because it looks like this means it is a paintbrush. Yes, Jody's saying pencil holder. Absolutely. Makeup brush holder. Lipstick container. You get the idea. Literally spend the week stretching those boundaries. The other thing is this: spend the week checking on your discipline and your routines. All right? It is good to change up the routine as long as you still get things done. Some things you will need to continue in a routine because otherwise you totally lose it. I saw it that there was a quote this week that said, spontaneity is flexibility within a routine. So in other words, you can be spontaneous. You just got to make room for it within your routine. And it's a good thing. For those of you who've ever had children, right? It's a good thing to stop the routine to play with the children. The routine will still be there when you finish playing with the children. Or it is a good idea to stop the housework and actually sit and chat to your husband. The housework will still be there when you finish the chat. And so here's my question again, which is under be prepared, not scared. How many of you can see that when the pandemic is actually over and our life is under control, do you understand that life may speed up quite a bit? And how many of you are going, I sort of like this pace I'm going at the moment. It feels good for me. And I'm really mentioning that because part of me, as you can imagine, part of me knows that within the next month or so, I'm going to be going back home. I'll be out of this rented apartment and I will be going back home. And that will include a lot of different changes again. And by the way, I got some pictures for you here because one of the things that somebody is cleaning a lot of stuff here. I hope you guys can't hear that. Hang on a second. Let me get my phone going here. One of the things that I found when I went home yesterday. This is my guest vanity. You see that? Smashed. I went in to use the washroom, the guest washroom, and saw that my vanity was smashed. Now, can you imagine that my first reaction is, oh no, they broke the vanity. And then my next reaction was, oh yeah, they broke the vanity. That needed upgrading. Thank you. So you understand that all the time I'm trying to challenge my mind to switch things around, right? Because to challenge ourselves constantly is healthy for the brain muscles, if you like. And we were saying if you don't exercise your leg muscles, they're the first ones to go. Well, if we don't keep exercising our brains, right, we will end up not being as flexible. We won't react as quickly. It's really an important thing to do. And if you can, challenge your morals. All right. Why do I think stealing is a bad idea? Or think to yourself, take all those things that you take for granted and actually question them and see if you can have a pro and con, about that. Find the good things. Put it down on paper if you can, because it is really forcing your mind to work. Jody's saying, thank you for not saying when our lives are normal again, and because there is no going back, only the new normal. Under control is perfectly. Thank you. I tried to think what words could I use, and I think that's what it's going to feel like. I think it's going to feel like we have control back. Whereas at the moment, how many of you can feel that, we're talking about coping with feelings on a Friday, that you feel still a little out of control, that the pandemic is in control here. All right, so now thinking about challenging the norms, if you like, I was thinking for those of you who, for example, don't eat meat on Fridays. I've got any viewers that don't eat meat on Fridays, all right? Now, as we know, there was a good reason for that. It was a good idea, to switch out eating meat, and that, fish should be part of the diet. That was a good dietary reason. But, I'm pretty certain those of you who have a religious side to you go, in the early Christian days, the church instituted the practice of requiring the faithful to abstain from eating meat on Fridays in memory of Christ's death. So, two different things. One is a dietary swap over, if you like. The other was a religious thing. But what I wanted to say to you is, what if it's Mondays? How many of you have heard of Meatless Mondays? Now has become a thing. And so does it make any difference? I mean, if you did it on Monday instead of Friday? Or is it really important to keep it on a Friday because the church said I should? And that's what I'd like you to put down on paper, right? If you happen to be deeply religious, most of the religious norms, practices are done on given days because we go to church on a Sunday because then everybody's got the routine. But, what I'd like you to do is to say, that's not necessary. All right. I could have meatless Tuesdays if I wanted to. And, think about changing those things around in your mind. Even if you don't do it, have the conversation with yourself. And what would happen if you decided to have it on Saturdays instead of Fridays? Would it achieve the same thing? That's the thing that I'm trying to get you to think about, is would it be the same? And what comes up in your mind? You're going, no, it wouldn't be the same, so. Now, I found a couple of really interesting things this week, which is I found out that you can wash coffee filters. After you've used a coffee filter, take it to the faucet, run it under cold water, and if you've got a container like this one, for example, after you finish washing it, just put it over a container like that and let it dry, and you got yourself a clean coffee filter. And I've got crumbs. So I know what you're saying, Sal, why would you? They're so cheap. It's not about whether they're cheap or not. I just wanted to know, is it doable? And the answer is absolutely. And so now my new routine is not to throw the filters away. Isabel's saying the fish on Friday was supposed to be a sacrifice, but we were so excited because we love the fish so much. Yeah, but what I'm saying is, don't worry about, does it have to be Friday? So what I'm wondering, by the time the pandemic is, settled down a bit, I wonder how many of our everyday routines will have changed and we won't go back. All right. Now, I had another accident experiment this week. And that was I accidentally put a panty liner into the wash. I don't know if any of you have ever done that. Not only did I put it into the wash, I'm talking about a disposable one, but it also went through the dryer. And what was amazing was it looked like new. And that made me think, I'm going, really? So you know what my next experiment's going to be. But I literally, I literally, after it had been through the dryer, I think I left it out for another day just to make sure it was dry. And then I just reused it and it worked beautifully. So I'm going, why would you? Well, you know me, because I can. And these things give me pleasure. And you know, that part of my mind that loves to experiment, you understand, is stretching my mind all the time, right? I consider it to be a mental exercise for me, these little experiments that I do. How many of you have started to play maybe a new game online, one that you can chat to people while you play? Because, you know, isolation is isolation. And, you know, a lot of us are pretty lucky that we've got, you know, Facebook Messenger and we talk to each other, you know, during the day. But you do understand that, you know, maybe it's time to make some new friends as well. And so I would recommend, you know, maybe find yourself a new online chat group that's pretty chatty so that you can enjoy some new people. Good for the mind. And I was thinking some of the things that have completely changed. In our lives. And I will be talking more about that this evening. But how many of you can think that in the last 20 years, and you know, between the two broadcasts, if you get a moment, think about how many things have completely changed in the last 20 years. And I was thinking, remember when we had to carry a camera with us? You know, and it's like, no, we don't do that anymore. In fact, we got two, one at the front, one at the back. Amazing. Do any of you remember when I said a few weeks ago, I think I'm going to try and walk a half marathon? You see, that was challenging my mind, because I knew that sounded like hard work, and my body. But the interesting thing was that as soon as I said it to myself, I think I want to try a half marathon, see if I can, you know, I want to walk a half marathon in a week. Well, to my astounding amazement, you know, I already could do that quite easily. It's only, what is it, about 20, just over, I think it's about 21,000 steps. And I did that quite easily. And then as soon as I realized I was already doing that quite easily in a week, I thought, well, what if I did a marathon, a full marathon? That's 56,000 steps. How many of you can imagine what went on in my mind when I said that to myself? And then I went, well, first of all, I better work out what that means in reality. And I walk about 120 steps a minute. That's what I've discovered. When I'm doing when I stand up and I do my walk, I'm doing about 120 a minute. So what I realized was it was going to take me about 8,000 steps a day to be able to walk a full marathon in a week. And my mind said, you know, maybe that's a bit ambitious. And so then I noticed that my mind didn't want me to talk about it on a broadcast because, you know, then I'd set myself up, wouldn't I? Well, here's the truth. Let me just make sure that you see the reality. Obviously, the top one is today, but this is what I've managed to do this week. And I don't know if you can see the total there, but the total for the week is already 45,805. Oops, where are we? Okay. 45,805 steps, which means I am not very far away from a full marathon. And if you had said to me 3 months ago, Sal, you're going to want to walk a marathon in a week. And, to do it has not been easy. It has required that I concentrate on my well-being for an hour a day, because that's what it takes. Right? It takes, the average person, walks about 7,000 steps an hour. And I wanted to do 8,000 a day, which meant I had to do an hour's exercise every day. I don't mind telling you, I didn't particularly want to do that. But there is part of me that is going, I can't believe I've just about done it. Now, I actually think you probably noticed that, but I tried to make sure at the beginning of the week that I did more. I put in 9,000 for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Why? In case something happened later on in the week. And I knew that by the time it got to Saturday, I'd, be able to catch up as well. And do you understand the mental process that needed to happen for me to be able to do that? What if after a whole week of pushing myself for over an hour a day, I still haven't lost any weight? What then? What if I found out that the reality is I may need to do 2 hours a day to shift this weight, as well as change my diet up even more? Yeah, if that's what it takes, I guess that's what I'm going to do, because I need to shift the weight. And so the mental shift was, I want to do it. I want to do it. I found a way of exercising that works for me, and I now know I can do it. And now it's a case of how much time is it going to take? That's the difference. How much time is it going to take? And, it means it's like anything else in your life. If you don't spend any time working on your finances, don't be surprised if your finances are a mess. If you don't spend any time on your health, don't be surprised if your health is a mess. If you don't spend any time learning new things, don't be surprised if you get bored. All these sort of things are under our control, but we need to spend time on them. And that means we need to change your routine. Do you all realize that for me to spend 1 hour a day exercising requires something else has to give. I have to make something else less important. Now then, let me tell you something else. You remember last week I was talking about the fact I was going to need to replace my computer. And this comes with a warning. I'm about to horrify you. So be aware, be prepared, not scared, because I want to show you this picture. I had a problem with one of my keys sticking, and there are a few other issues going on with my computer at the moment. So hang on. The first thing I did was I wondered whether the reason that the keyboard was sticking was that I had dirt under my key, under my keys. Now, this is horrific, guys, so don't be grossed out, but it is a reality. I lifted the key, I took a little paint spatula and I very quietly lifted up one of the keys because those key things pop out. Look at what was underneath it. Isn't that gross? And why? Most of that is probably flour, from my fingertips from making bread. That's my feeling. And quite a few eyebrows in there, but it was horrific. Now that's just one key. So you can imagine all my keys are probably that dirty underneath. And so I've got to, basically get all those keys off and one by one clean underneath them in the hope. Hi, Jenny, good to see you. And so that was one thing. And then I got to thinking, right now, I don't want to be spending money on a new computer if I don't have to. So being who I am, what was plan B? Plan B is don't buy a new computer. You remember, buy a keyboard that you can use with your computer. Because that's what's wrong is the keyboard. And you will remember I bought that really great folding keyboard and I love it. But what I found is it's great in the bedroom. It's really great to have it in the bedroom because it's light and easy to, I've got a second computer in the bedroom that I watch movies on Netflix or Prime or whatever, and it's just like, it's really easy for me to do things, or I can read, I've got ebooks that I can read, and, with a little fold out keyboard, I can just tap the button and it's, I can have it right next to me and just tap the button right here. Works really well. So then what I did was I decided I need a new remote keyboard for here. And look what I got. I think it's okay. And I thought about Manon when I found this, but where did it go? So there it is. Hang on, let me pick that up. So I got a new keyboard and a matching mouse. But what I want you to see is, can you see there how those keys are? The keys are lifted. Hang on, I got to do that so you can see it. Can you see that the hole is not at the bottom, the hole is higher up? Can you see what I'm talking about? Hang on a second. So here, that's solid. The plastic goes up to almost where the key is, and that's where the hole is. I want to tell you something, Jody. Cleaning it is like, oh, see that? Now, I don't know about you, but this was like, and of course, if you have your magic paintbrush, it's really easy to clean. But how many of you can see that that is a better keyboard for me? However, it required a little bit of a mind change because, oh, hang on a second. Let me tell you why. Hold on a second, Jeannie. I'll get to that in a second. I'm just going to type something. So easy. Remember the keyboards we used to have? We are so, and I'm just going to do it on my laptop. All right. So one of these keyboards is noisier than a regular. And I'm going, I could learn to live with it. So instead of a new computer, I got a new keyboard. And the other thing I've did is I bought a new external hard drive. It's coming next week, I think, or soon. And I'm just going to offload everything that's in this computer off onto the external hard drive. And then if I still need a new computer, at least I know everything is off there. All right, let me go back to what Jeannie is saying. Oh no, wait a minute, before I do that. Total cost, a couple of $100. To buy a new computer, a couple of $1,000 for the ones that I have. So you understand, it's like, do I have to have a brand new computer, or did I need a new way of being able to type? All right, so Jeannie is saying, by the way, Jeannie's also redoing her house after a fire. An update, she said, we had a virtual inspection yesterday that went well, except the fire suppression system didn't fit well downstairs. Until the builder took down the downstairs steps. Then he later rebuilt them. Okay, that's good. The fire system is huge, over $20,000 more. So you've now got a fire system in your house. Is that standard now? It's mandatory now, really? Wow. Actually, when I do the broadcast tonight, I'm going to talk to you about one of the decisions I had to make this week in my house, which was stressful for me. So did any of you feel any joy or excitement or surprise or sadness or anger or disgust or contempt or fear this week? And by the way, when I went to the house this week, one of the first things I have to tell you was a great feeling of joy when I walked in, because they finished the flooring. And it does look really nice. And then there was a moment of sadness when I realized they painted the whole house the dark gray. And I'm going, seriously? And the dark gray was not quite as dark as this, but it's close. It's a sort of charcoaly kind. And then I remembered that the painter said they would do that first, and then they would, lighten up the other walls. So I think they had already mixed that paint up or something. So that's fine. Oh, Jeannie's saying her happiness is that they both got their second COVID shots. Yeah, I'm still haven't had my first one yet. So I don't think I'm due to get the first one until April, but I could be wrong on that. That's the last I heard. The other thing that gave me great joy is that they appear to have repainted the whole house, except for one thing in the laundry room, but I think they're going to paint that with the trim colors. But, the whole house has been repainted. Yay. As I said, the guest vanity is broken, so I get a new one. That made me chuckle a bit. I like that. I started to think, which is always dangerous, about what am I going to need in a hurry when they start bringing things back into my house? What I realized today, for example, I obviously thought that I'm going to need a new mattress in a hurry, and new bedding, obviously. But I was thinking I won't have any coat hangers. I won't, because most of my coat hangers were either plastic or wood, and they absorb they absorb smoke. So I'm pretty sure that I'm going to need to get new coat hangers. And I thought, well, maybe I need to go to a dollar store and get them in bulk. Yes, Jodi's saying for her, the joy was getting the we. A little bit of anxiety over next week's appointments. And then realizing she calmed herself down, that just requires that she do a bit more planning, right? Yes, and Jeannie, I've got 84 pages of what they are destroying or want me to sign off on. And coat hangers, I know, is on them. So when I get all my clothes back, unless I've got coat hangers ready, I can't even hang them up. It's just like, duh. And so I've got to think, because I don't want to rebuy everything. I want to rebuy as I need it, right, sort of thing. So that's what I'm going to be doing. The other thing was, you heard me say that I went to the arts and framing store to have that one picture. Remember the skyline that I had here, to get it framed. Do you understand that I had to decide that was worth the money, because it actually costs quite a bit to frame a picture. And even though it was quite small, it was sort of, what is it? It was about 15 inches by 5.5, I think. And one of the things that was so cute when I took it to the art store to decide on whether I wanted to do it just in a metal frame or did I want matting and so forth. And, I really spent a lot of time deciding what I wanted. And I ended up with, I hope will look good, but I'll let you know. I think I pick it up next week. So I'll let you see what I did with it. But it's like, again, I had to say to myself, I am worth this. It is worth framing this picture. And it was so funny because the woman said to me, it's not actually square. I said, I know that. But the matching will be, and it's just like, and they burst out laughing. And again, how many of you have had a lot of joy this week? And every week I'm going to remind you, the amount of joy we have in our week is up to us, right? Not up to somebody else. And I believe that more than ever, in terms of our mental health, and more than ever, we need to bring more joy in. So, excuse me. Yeah. Jeannie's saying one of the sorrows was that most of her paintings and prints were destroyed. Yeah. I'm waiting to see, I have good news and bad news. I had a lot of artwork that never got out of the boxes. They were still in the packing boxes. But unfortunately, my favorite ones were already out of the boxes, so I don't know how many of those will survive. Jeannie's saying that joy for her was looking at replacing rugs and dresses. Yes, that was another thing. I realized that now that I've got gray floors, I'm going to need new rugs. And I'm going to need new rugs before they bring back the table. Because, my table has stone pillars on it. And they're rough stone, they're scratchy stuff. So I'm thinking I'm going to need to go and get myself at least one carpet immediately to put it down so that they can put the table back. It's like, yikes. And probably two. Now, there's part of me that's going, I don't know if you've noticed this, Jeannie, but I'm noticing that shag is making a comeback. And it's just like, do I put down white shag carpets or cream shag. You know, it's like, and I'm going, Sal, really, who are you kidding? And then I keep wondering whether Clarence, my cleaner, you know, I got one of those robot cleaners, and whether Clarence the cleaner is going to like shag. And I'm thinking, now maybe we'll go for a little tufted. And Jodie's saying that'll be lovely, a piece of art to bring back to your home. Well, you know, it's about a memory. You know, I believe that life is about memories. And I literally said to myself, Sal, it is worth spending the money to get it framed. It deserves to be treated that way. Even if I end up selling it, it just, you know, because of when I painted it, it's important. And the other thing is I realized, you know, I need to get it framed before I can work out where to sign it, because I've done it so many times where I've done a piece of art and I've signed it and then I put the frame on it and found out now the matching is covering the signature or half covering it. It looks terrible. So it's, the trick is to get it all done, then you know where to sign it. All right, so I just want to make sure that we all challenge ourselves this week. All right, so Jeannie's saying we have a great marketplace that sells things. We found an 8x10 oriental rug and an antique white dresser with a mirror. Yes, how are you getting those to your house? Jeannie, that's, you know, I realize I could pick up a lot of things secondhand, but I'm going, how would I get it to my house? You know, I don't have the strength to go and manhandle, you know, new furniture or new to me furniture. So how are you doing that? You see, so you've got a truck in the family. All right, so that helps. You see, I don't, and nor do I have the ability to do that. And, you know, I remember when I bought that, you remember that big QB unit that I got? It would have cost me $200 to have somebody go and collect that for me. And so anyway, we'll see. I may, you know what I decided? I may need to just replace all my QB units, go back to IKEA, have them replace them all and pay the extra to make sure somebody comes and puts them all together for me. Right? And it's just like, I think that's going to be an investment because it'll all be done almost immediately, as opposed to it would take me weeks to get them all rebuilt. And imagine how backbreaking that would be. So I don't want to do that. The other thing is, you know, it's amazing the things that you think about, because when I went back last week, I noticed that the one wall in my dining room area, that they had not removed the wallpaper from it. And that it was, I don't know if I mentioned it to you guys, but it was peeling off at the bottom slightly. And so I wrote a note to them and said, hey, I'm not sure what the story is about the wallpaper in the dining room, but if it's staying, I really do need it checked, because it looks like the heat got there and it's already, you know, lifting some. And now I went there this week and they've pulled the wallpaper off. So I guess that's going to be a dark wall. Like, really. I am pretty sure that it's going to be really important for me to keep pretty chill about the next month, you know, and as I start working towards returning home. And also that once I get home, there's going to be a lot of challenges that I probably haven't thought of yet. And so I am preparing to be prepared, not scared of getting a lot more changes happening in my life that I wasn't expecting. And that's, you know, I'm going to do what I can to be really grateful for all the things I am going to get. Actually, I will talk about what's happening about my bathroom now. While I think about it, where's my phone? Right. Oh, there it is. Well, actually, I'm not the project manager for my remodel, Jody, but I'm just making sure I go there. All right, Judy's saying, have you had to select things like a kitchen sink, bathroom items? You're right. This is the whole thing. No, nothing in the kitchen, because that wasn't where the fire was. The damage stuff happened in my bathroom and my bedroom. The smoke damage, in terms of permeating through the wallpaper and stuff, went everywhere. The water damage went 2/3 of the way down, but they had to replace all the floor because it was a seamless floor, so they had to pull everything up and then completely redo it. All right, here was the situation. If you remember that they started to change my bathroom to remodel it, but they forgot to ask me if I wanted to upgrade. And so what happened, just want to put some pictures around this for you, is that my previous bathroom, this is pretty dark, but my previous bathroom had a shower in that corner. Now, one of the things I really wanted is to upgrade that. And I want to show you what I wanted to do, if I got a picture of that. Hold on, people. I got a picture of that for you somewhere. Just need to quickly take a... Hold on. Okay. I know you can see me taking pictures here. Bear with me. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to show you is a picture, and on the left is how far they got before I realized they didn't even contact me and ask me if I wanted to upgrade. And on the right is what I actually want to put in there. This looks pretty dark because they haven't changed the color of the paint. So this picture here on the left is, what is there at the moment. They'd already put that shower unit in. But this is the shower unit I wanted. I wanted it to be twice as big, right, with a sliding door. So can you see the difference? And this one is like a corner angle thing. I wanted something big enough that I could walk into it with a walker if I needed to. So what I did was, when I realized they'd already started the bathroom, I said, whoa, stop everything, because that's not what I want. And I need some quotes. And I got the quote, and it was terrifying for me because they quoted me $7,000 to do that. And and I'm going, that's $7,000 over everything else. I've already paid out for the roof error that we found. You remember we had a problem on the roof that cost me $4,000, and now this would cost me an extra $7,000. Now, can you understand that there's mentally, this is like 7,000. I thought maybe 5 at the tops, 4 to 5,000 is what I thought. The 7 is a lot of money. Mind you, 4 or 5 is a lot of money, but 7 is definitely a lot of money. And I'm going, can you imagine what my mind was doing? It looked like a one-armed bandit at the casino, And I'm going, wait a minute. if I spend the $7,000, what will I have to do without? Because obviously that $7,000 that needs to come from my savings. Yes, and Jeannie's saying, but if it helps you as you get older, maybe it is wise. Yep, that was my thinking. So here's the thing. I also need to replace my car. So you understand I'm going, well, if I do the bathroom, the car is probably not going to happen in the near time. And all sorts of things. And then what I did was I thought, you know something, I'm going to do a couple of things, right? I don't have to make an instant decision. I told them I would need it a couple of days to think about it, and I'd let them know on Monday. Okay, immediately giving myself some space. And then what I did was I spoke to two of my neighbors who have just redone their bathrooms in a similar unit. Okay, and I said to them, you know, this is the quote I've got. Is it fair based on the prices you pay? I didn't need to know what they paid, but is it fair based on the prices that you paid to do your bathroom? And have you ever regretted it? And quite honestly, they came back and said, just do it. You will not regret it. And you know, my thought is a bathroom is something, and it's the master bathroom, something I use every day. And I wanted a shower I could get into with a walker if I needed it, or I could put a seat into it if I needed it. And I needed a shower big enough. And I wanted a sliding door, because then if you've got a walker, you can hold onto the walker with one hand and slide the door. You know, it's not like you've got to mangle your way around. And, you know, I found even before that it was really difficult to get into the shower because of the door angle and everything. And I'm going, no, I just want a sliding door that I can use. So, yes, and then I spoke to people I know that are very pragmatic, you know, sensible people. First of all, I also spoke to my realtor, Patty, and said, I'm sorry to disturb you at this time, you know, because she's still grieving the loss of her husband. But I said, I need some input. Based on everything, is it worth my putting $7,000 in? All right. And she immediately wrote back and said, yes. In other words, you know, the resale value, you know, I wouldn't lose money in terms of that. And it was a good upgrade to do in a house, in a community with mostly seniors, was that you had a walk-in shower like that. So that was, you know, but then I understood it from a resale point of view. But what surprised me was other people who said to me, really, Sal, you deserve that. And I agree with you, Jeannie. That was a point that Jody also said, that it would be wise, safety-wise, to do it. And so I'm now leaning, it's still only Friday, but I'm pretty sure now, all I've got to do is convince myself that I am not wasting money. You understand the difference? Because it could mean taking $7,000 that I could, you know, may have to sell the house earlier because I can't afford to stay there, sort of thing. And, you know, with a limited income, with a limited savings as to how long I can live there. And then I need to sell the house to get that money out, you know. So it's like, but I'm a great believer that, you know, in the short term, it looks like I'm going to do it. Do you know how scary that is for me? I think you all know that I'm not somebody who, you know, to me, that was just like, wow, that's an awful lot of money. and I'm pretty certain that there are going to be people I know that go, wow, you spent that much. And how about all those people who are going to say you could have had it done much more cheaply if? And I'm going, you know something? I know that I probably could get some local person to do it all more cheaply. But, you know, I sort of like the idea of having the people doing it with the insurance claim, because that's all going to be up to standard and up to code and good. Jeannie's saying, you're not wasting money. It's a good purchase that will be good should you find need to sell later. Yeah, I believe that. And so it will basically mean that the only room in my house that hasn't been upgraded will be my guest bathroom, and they're already going to upgrade the vanity because they broke it. Which means that the bathtub itself is the only thing that hasn't been upgraded. And that's not too bad. Yeah, I think it's, it's not like green or something, it's just an older cream color. But, I'm not worried. But you know why? Because the shower curtain covers it anyway. And, like how often am I going to have guests? And if they don't like that, they can use my shower. So, but it is amazing what it does to the mind. I think that's what I want you all to relate to, right? It's like a shock when you thought, well, maybe I need to spend about 3 to 5, and it comes in at 7. And I immediately wrote back and said, does that include all the taxes? Right? I needed to make sure it wasn't 7 plus. So I think what I will do is ask them if that includes, the hardware and everything else that I want, because I did ask for upgraded hardware. I want a rain shower, and I want a really nice hand unit, because in case I am on a seat. And, and I decided I didn't necessarily need the really fancy sink in my bathroom, but I did want a waterfall type faucet. Yeah, Jeannie's saying they selected a dark blue bathroom vanity. I saw a dark blue one and I really liked it as well. But I decided I'm going to stay with white only because it makes it easy. Well, it's wonderful that you are enjoying that. I picked a white one, I think, but I wanted the upgrade of the faucet. That's the one thing I did. And I'm probably going to ask them to upgrade the faucet in the guest bathroom as well. A lot of money. Now, I also realize I've got to go through those 64 pages of things they need to throw away and work out which things are critical for me to replace before I move back. In other words, I need to have that list so that if I know that this time next week I'm allowed to start moving things back, it won't be that soon, that I can do it. The other thing is, because of the debacle about the shower, I realized that has delayed the finishing of the house, right? Because that's the major rebuild, is that bathroom. And I put a stop to it because they hadn't bothered to ask me what I wanted. So I'm slowed them down by at least a week doing that. And what I've said to them is, hey, I understand that this may interrupt. I'm pretty sure they want me back in there by the end of March. And so what I'm going to do is say to them, I am prepared to move back into the house, even if they're still rebuilding that bathroom. Why? There is another bathroom there that I can use. And if they need to turn the water off to reconnect stuff, that's not a big issue. So what I've said to them is I can move back in and use the other bathroom. And I don't have to sleep in the bedroom. I can sleep, I did it before, if you remember. I can sleep on the futon when it comes back. I'm not sure, Jeannie, but I've got a feeling that's what they're aiming for, is to get me back in there by the end of March. They're pretty good. The only thing now is, is really getting the bathroom done and getting everything cleaned up. Oh, it's dusty in there. But, I don't think those things take a lot of time, quite honestly. So we'll see. Exciting and scary all at the same time. Let us please remember to keep ourselves flexible in our minds, right? Jody, with your doctor's appointments, right? Keep thinking, what do I need to do to get rid of the stress? When I thought about the stress of the 7,000, I thought, yeah, I could get somebody to do it more cheaply, but how much extra stress will that be dealing, because I will have to oversee it all again. And, do I want that, or do I just want to pay the money, get it done, and get home and enjoy it? And I'm going, yeah, it's extra money, but I think that's what I'm going to do for my peace of mind. And once I've made the decision, which, I'm just about there now, then it's done. I'm one of those people, once I've made the decision, everybody that wants to tell me that I could have done it more cheaply, I'll just go, yep, I know that, but I still decided to do it. It's my money. You understand? It's just like, I know there will be lots of voices about it, but the truth is, I just want to get it done. So let's keep flexible in our minds as well as in our bodies. Let's keep challenging our norms, both in our thinking, in our rules that we give ourselves, in our day-to-day challenges. Keep challenging your brain. Keep pushing it. I have never been somebody that spent a lot of time playing things like Sudoku, but I now play killer Sudoku. It's like, why? I want to keep my brain working. Right? I want to keep my brain working because this lockdown has sucked the reality out. I am pretty certain when I get back to my house, I'm going to put in a lot more steps than I used to. This evening, I'm going to show you how I'm doing with my gardening. I have stuff to show you. All right, so Judy, why are you not back on Facebook? Let me just understand that. I don't. Did they nuke you for some reason? Wait a minute. So Jeannie's saying, I tried so hard to do it and I cannot. My other phone died, so I couldn't easily transfer things. Why do you need to transfer things onto Facebook? When I change phones, I just open up Facebook and carry on. So I'm missing something here. Well, I'm not joking, Jeannie, that whenever I've changed phones, that's never been an issue. So anybody else got any feedback? All right, but what are they giving you the reason why it's a problem? That's what I'm not understanding. because it's like saying I couldn't get into Google. You know, it's like Facebook is an app, and all you need to do is get into it. Yeah, I agree with you, Jody. Jody's saying, I thought you just put your password in on any device. So whenever I've got a new device, I don't have a whole lot of problems. I just go to the Facebook page and put in my password and off I go. Yeah, that's the thing, your passwords. So, okay, well, best of luck. It really, you don't remember your proper password. Ah, now that makes more sense. But again, there are ways of giving yourself a new password that they can help you with very easily. So you shouldn't even need the company to do that. You just tell them you want to. Oh, Jody's suggesting, I wonder if it wants to authenticate it from the old phone and it can't. Yeah, all right, so, but even so you can't remember what the old password was to be able to change it either. Which is why I have a special hack about passwords. I have a really cute way in which I remember all my passwords. So anyway, best of luck. I'm certain it's doable. You're not the first person to have had the problem, Jeannie. So, just going to take time and effort, but you will get there, I'm sure. Best of luck, honey. we send you lots of hugs. And my question is, what have you learned about passwords that you will not repeat again? Which is, don't have one list that can go up in a fire. So you've got your Facebook, but you can't get your friends. You can't get the friend starter back again. Okay. Hey, if you have to rebuild it, you have to rebuild it. I hate to even think about that. All right, guys, I need to go. So all the best, Jeannie. And, you're a very patient person. I know that from my experience of you. So you'll get there. Just keep going one step at a time. Thank you for sorting out why it was a problem. I was totally confused with it. All right, everybody, we'll see you this evening, and look after yourselves. And please make sure that you keep challenging your mind. Jody's saying, Jeannie, next time add an alternate email to your account too. Yes, I have 2 different emails on my account to reactivate it if necessary. And I also have different telephone numbers for that reason, so that if the one isn't working, I can get to the other one. All right. All the best, everybody. Have a great afternoon. We'll see you this evening. This is DearMamaSal saying, keeping our minds flexible is part of our mental health. And please watch out for that. We've been in this pandemic, as you remember, I started with that. We've been in the pandemic a long time. And our minds are pretty stagnant with it all now. It's our job to look after keeping our minds active. This is DearMamaSal saying, love you dearly, look after one another, but please, please, please remember to look after yourself. Bye-bye for now, guys. Maybe.